We're getting close. The stand's only about 150 yards up in there. And we gotta cross that river and be sitting right in there.
That.
What a circus it's been this morning. My goodness. We have squandered so many opportunities this year, it's not even funny. We're starting to call it the cursed season so far. And this morning was no different. Zach and Greg were in here yesterday in this Marsh Unit. Saw a pile of bucks all day long. Jake and I hunted here across the river a couple days ago, and we wanted to get over to this side, but we just didn't know the best way to do it because there's so many deer in here. Well, this morning Erik and I came in, and we kind of wanted to wait until just after first light when these does got back up into this bedding area out in front of us. You can see all these cattails out here. You know, because coming in early, they're on their way back from the food over my shoulder heading into these bedding areas, and we had to pull a set, move it over here, and we didn't want to do all that, you know, too early where we could possibly bump a bunch of those does going in. Well, that was a mistake because we crossed the river. We were looking for a tree over here. I picked a good tree with lots of cover, but it's been an absolute nightmare to hang the stands in because it's got these vines going up it everywhere. So it's taken me a lot longer than usual to hang the stands. As I was hanging it, we had a 2-year-old buck cross the creek down here and move up into the bedding area. I mean, no harm done there. And then Erik is on his way up the tree. He's literally 2 feet below the stand. And he looks up, he says, "Big buck coming." And I turn around, and this huge buck is walking right down the trail that we hung the stands for. Perfect. I mean, absolutely perfect. 20-yard opportunity, walked right by, and I tried to film it myself, but the camera's on the left side of me, and I'm a right-handed shooter, which is backwards if you're trying to self-film. I filmed the deer walk through these openings here, and if he would have stopped on his own, I might have had a chance. But he was definitely, you know, going somewhere fast, and I just gave him a soft grunt to try to stop him. And that wigged him out. I mean, it's public land. I bet you he's heard that before. And he's either had arrows slung at him or or been hit by one or something, but I just gave a soft grunt and he totally wigged out and ran off into the bedding area. I doubt he's very spooked, but still, 5 minutes, that's all it would have took. You know, if we'd have set our alarm for 5 minutes earlier this morning, if we would have, you know, been a little quicker when we grabbed camera gear, if we wouldn't have stopped, you know, on the road. It's all these little things that add up, and it's just that's what it is. It's such a game of inches as far as bow hunting goes. You're so close, or so far away at times. Just seems like that's how it is. 5 minutes sooner in this tree and we'd have probably killed that buck. But it's early in the day. We're going to try to remain optimistic. Got Slingin' Rick in the tree with me here. He brought some luck down from Wisconsin, I hope, because he killed a real nice buck on public land up there a few days ago. And he decided to come down here and go on these rodeos with us. I have no idea why, but he's here in the tree with me. So we're going to have a fun day nonetheless. But I already had one shooter within bow range. Let's see if we can actually kill the next one. Well, it's about 11 o'clock now, and Eric and I just went ahead and climbed down, pulled the whole set and everything. We didn't see anything else this morning after that big buck came through. What do? Just keep hunting. That's what we're good at. So we got the stands on our backs. We're going to go to a different area of the marsh this afternoon, this evening, and it's cooled off a bunch today. It dropped a good 10 degrees overnight, and now it's blowing out of the north. It's supposed to be 17 tonight as a low. And in my experience, those real cold temperatures in the middle of the rut don't necessarily spell good deer movement. So it is the rut though, and if it is one thing, it's unpredictable. So we're gonna keep hunting. Hope we can run into one. Super fresh scrape. We're switching gears this evening. We come up here in the timber to get in the ridges. It's got windy today out of the north. About blew us out of the tree this morning. It got real cold. We saw that shooter and that other buck at first light, and then nothing the rest of the day. And everybody else that we've talked to, movement has been slow since first light this morning. So this wind is supposed to die off later on this evening, and I'm anticipating there's going to be some good movement tonight right before dark. We're coming into the timber out here on public where we haven't been yet this year. And we're going to try getting in one of these ditches that sets up real well for northerly wind bedding. Right down in here, this ridge drops off. There's a bunch of little secondary points that run off to the west, and they set up perfect for north wind bedding. And there's a bunch of fresh buck sign up here on the top of the ridges. So we might be in business tonight. The high winds are going to allow us to get in there without making much noise. Another scrape right up here, Rick.
Man, this is tight.
He was bedded over there, like we said, for north wind.
Yeah.
He's laying up on the side of that ridge watching over this bottom.
Yeah.
And he heard us walking down this hill and then came over to that ridge, and that's, he wasn't smelling us, he was just looking for that sound.
Right.
And that's why he stood there for so long.
Yeah.
How many times can that happen in one day?
Well, nice twice.
Apparently. Well, it's been a crazy day so far. We came into the spot in the timber. Like I was talking about on the way in, we started finding all these scrapes leading down into this valley. What this is several of these ridges dumped down into one spot right here. A lot of acorns this year, and these deer are in here thick. While I was hanging the stand, once again, looked up on the ridge and had a big buck coming in here to the set. And I think what he heard was me and Erik coming down this hill, making a bunch of noise in these leaves. And he acted like he was coming over here to investigate the source of that sound. Well, that buck worked off. I was getting the stands hung, trying to get up here as fast as I could. We weren't able to get any footage of it, but another shooter ran a doe right here at 10 yards, right behind Erik, and almost gave Erik a heart attack, I think. He was down there on the ground handing me a tree stand, and a buck and a doe ran right up here. Wasn't able to get much footage of them, but after they ran off up this ditch, they weren't spooked, they were just dogging that doe. Another buck joined in with him, and then we ended up seeing 2 more bucks come into this same ditch. So she's definitely a hot doe, and there's a bunch of bucks in here, no doubt. We might be in for a pretty eventful sit this evening. It just depends on if she decides to come back through here, but it's a hot doe that just ran right here at 10 yards. Left her scent trail all the way down into that bottom, where all those ridges dump down and come together, so we're in a pretty good spot. Not very high in this tree, but as long as the wind stays up, it should cover us pretty good. Erik and I have been on pins and needles in here all night since we got these stands hung, but nothing came up within bow range. I watched a 2-year-old buck run a doe across the top of this east ridge. We could hear other deer walking around us tonight up on these ridges, but nothing else since that flurry of activity about 2:30 when we were setting the stands up. I think we ended up seeing 5 different bucks this evening and 2 does. And a couple of those bucks were definite shooters, but we saw tons of sign coming in. In fact, we spotted a real good spot for the morning on the way in. There's a couple big scrapes up at the top of this ridge. There's kind of a subtle little saddle up there that kind of connects a bunch of ridges and ditches up at the top, and that's why those 2 big scrapes were there. Look like they've been worked today during the day, so what we may do tonight is pull this set, move it up there, and set up over that little saddle right there for tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be out of the east in the morning. Maybe a great spot for the morning. A lot comes together right there. The bucks are definitely moving right now. So maybe tomorrow. Got real close today though.